Hey friends, Brian King here. I met a young lady this morning and we got on the topic of autism of all things. Imagine how talking to me would lead to that conversation. And one thing she shared is that she's got a younger sister who's on the spectrum. And one thing she remarked, which is not an uncommon story, is how long it took her to be diagnosed. She wasn't diagnosed until late teens. I wasn't diagnosed until I was an adult. I know some kids who it doesn't happen until it's in college. And what's the reason for that? Well, one of the main reasons for that is because physicians and other professionals tend to diagnose and treat what's most obvious to them. See, in this girl's case, anxiety was the thing that presented first. So it's like, oh, she's anxious. Let's give her a pill, tell her to take yoga, whatever it is. Or with some boys who are eventually diagnosed with ADHD. Like in my case, when I was a kid, granted ADHD didn't exist when I was a kid, but I still see this mistake being made with kids today, which is, oh, he's just too dreamy, he's not motivated enough, oh, he just needs to learn to sit still and do what he's told, and there are so many other things below the surface. The reason, in my opinion, why the symbol for autism is a puzzle piece isn't because it means a piece is missing. And that's what often leads to a lot of feelings of being insulted by members of the population, is because they think they're being seen as incomplete or broken. I don't see the puzzle pieces meaning that. I see it meaning that in order to diagnose it correctly, you've got to put the puzzle pieces together instead of seeing it's just one thing. Like being seen as just somebody that's a little scatterbrained, somebody that's just a little depressed, someone that's just a little anxious. There's always so much more to it. The metaphor that popped into my head when I was talking to this young lady is, well, just treating the anxiety because it's the most obvious, or the depression because it's the most obvious, is imagine that an elephant came up to you and smacked you in the face with its trunk. Would you stop there and say, oh my goodness, there's this big snake-like thing that's punching me in the face. Oh, I know how to handle snakes. This is what I'm going to do. And you look no further. But if you were to look further, you'd say, man, what is this thing attached to? This thing is pretty strong. Oh my good, there's a head with these big ears. And holy cow, look at the size of that body. And there's 4 legs. And if you do the work and you look at all the pieces and put the pieces together, you're going to see you're dealing with an elephant. Same with people that have various forms of autism or ADHD. You've got to put the pieces together. So if someone comes to you and they seem to be anxious, or they're unusually shy in social situations, or incredibly socially awkward, you as a clinician or as a parent need to ask yourself, what else? Yeah, I see these difficulties going on with my child, but what else? What else is going on here? Because as human beings, our entire profile is not as simple as one behavior or as simple as one little area of challenge. There's a lot to us. So there's typically a lot going on underneath the surface that we're missing because we're stopping with what is most obvious and we're not digging any deeper. So it may take some time to identify what the various puzzle pieces are and how they go together, but I implore you, keep digging. Look for all of the different things that can possibly be connected with or co-occurring with these difficulties, because you may be dealing with more than simple anxiety, depression, or social awkwardness. You may be dealing with the autism spectrum. You may be dealing with ADHD, and there are far more things you can do to help a person under those circumstances than simply throw a pill at the anxiety or the depression to make them feel a little better. Because if you don't see the entire puzzle, you could be losing a lot of meaningful time where you could be teaching this child or young adult how to engage the world in a much more effective way so that they can feel like they're effective human beings, that they can set a goal and accomplish it instead of feeling like all they do is make mistakes. All they do is screw up and frustrate people, and then make that unfortunate conclusion that they're no good, they have no purpose on this planet. And there are people that get to that point far too often because they were never given the tools they needed to feel effective early on. So that's my 2 cents on this. I hope it's useful for you, and please share it with people that can benefit from this as well. Until we chat again, this has been Brian. We'll talk to you soon.